Daniel Carter. That's my name. And if you had met me 3 years ago, you probably would have described me as a normal guy. A husband. An office employee. A man living a simple, predictable life. But life doesn't stay simple forever. 3 years ago, my wife left. She walked out of our apartment with 2 suitcases and never came back. And from that moment on, my entire world revolved around just one person. My daughter, Lily. Lily is 6 years old. She has bright brown eyes, messy golden hair, and a laugh that can make even the worst day feel lighter. Being a single dad isn't easy, but when she smiles at me, it reminds me why I keep going. That Sunday afternoon felt peaceful for the first time in a long while. Lily and I were at a small neighborhood park not far from our apartment. The grass was bright green, children were playing everywhere, and sunlight filtered through the tall trees surrounding the playground. I was sitting on an old wooden bench with a cup of coffee in my hand. A few feet away, Lily was on the swing set, laughing as she pumped her little legs back and forth. "Daddy, push me higher," she shouted. I stood up and walked over to her, giving the swing a gentle push. Lily squealed with excitement as she soared forward. Her laughter echoed across the park. And in that moment, everything felt okay. I returned to the bench and watched her play. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing this right. Being both a father and a mother at the same time isn't something anyone prepares you for. Some nights dinner is late. Sometimes I forget to sign a school paper. Occasionally I fall asleep on the couch before finishing the dishes. But there's one thing I never stop doing. Trying. My life outside of fatherhood isn't very exciting either. I work at a corporate marketing firm downtown. Long hours, endless emails, meetings that could have been messages, you know the drill. And then there's my boss, Claire Whitmore, the CEO of the company. She's known for being brilliant, confident, and extremely intimidating. In the office she always wears sharp business suits, and when she walks into a meeting room, the entire atmosphere changes instantly. People sit up straighter. They listen more carefully. Because when Claire Whitmore speaks, everyone pays attention. Which is why I never imagined I would run into her somewhere like this. At a park. On a Sunday. I had just taken a sip of my coffee when I suddenly heard a familiar voice. "Daniel." I looked up. And for a moment, I thought my brain was playing tricks on me. Standing in front of me was Claire Whitmore. But she didn't look like the Claire I saw at the office every day. Today she was wearing a simple white blouse and light blue jeans. Her hair was loose, gently moving with the breeze. Without the corporate setting around her, she looked different. More relaxed. Almost warm. "CL, Claire?" I said, surprised. She smiled. "Relax, Daniel. It's Sunday. You can just call me Claire." I blinked, still trying to process what was happening. What are you doing here?" "Just taking a walk," she said, glancing around the park. "Then I saw you." She nodded toward the playground. "Nice place." "Yeah," I said awkwardly. "Lily likes it here." As soon as I said her name, Lily jumped off the swing and ran toward us. "Daddy, did you see how high I went?" Then she noticed Claire standing beside me. Her eyes filled with curiosity. "Daddy, who's that?" Before I could answer, Claire crouched down to Lily's level. "Hi Lily," she said gently. "I'm Claire." Lily tilted her head slightly. "Daddy's office lady?" I nearly choked on my coffee. Claire looked amused. "And how do you know that?" I asked. Lily shrugged. "You say her name a lot on the phone." Claire laughed softly. For the first time since I'd known her, she didn't look like the intimidating CEO from the office. She looked like a normal person. Claire walked over and sat down beside me on the bench. I suddenly felt very aware of my posture. In the office, I only spoke to her during meetings or presentations. Sitting next to my boss at a park bench on a Sunday felt incredibly strange. "Cute kid," she said, watching Lily run back toward the swings. "Thanks," I replied. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Children were laughing nearby, leaves rustled gently in the wind, and somewhere across the park a dog barked excitedly. Then Claire leaned slightly closer to me. And suddenly, she did something I never expected. She casually sat down on my lap. My entire body froze. Claire, I whispered in shock. A couple walking past us slowed down and stared. I could feel my face turning red instantly. What are you doing? I asked nervously. Claire burst out laughing. Relax, Daniel. I'm joking. I quickly shifted in my seat. People are looking. She stood up immediately. Okay, maybe that wasn't my best idea. Lily ran back over at that exact moment. Daddy, why is your face so red? Claire laughed again. I rubbed the back of my neck awkwardly. But then Claire's expression slowly changed. Her smile faded into something more serious. She looked toward the playground where Lily was climbing the slide. Then she turned back to me. Daniel, I actually wanted to talk to you about something. Her tone was calm now, almost thoughtful. My heart started beating a little faster. About what? She watched Lily for a moment before answering. I've been noticing you for a while. In the office? I asked. She nodded. You work harder than almost anyone there. And you never complain. I wasn't sure what to say to that. Well, life doesn't really give you much choice sometimes. Claire studied me carefully. Then she said something that made my confusion grow even more. Daniel, I didn't come to this park just to take a walk. I turned toward her. What do you mean? She looked directly into my eyes. And quietly said something I never expected to hear. I was actually looking for you. For a moment, the sounds of the park seemed to fade away. One question echoed inside my mind. Why would my boss be looking for me? And at that moment, I had no idea that the conversation about to happen would completely change my life. I couldn't stop thinking about what Claire had just said. I was actually looking for you. Those words echoed in my head while the sounds of the park slowly returned around me. Children were laughing near the playground, a dog barked somewhere in the distance, and the warm afternoon sun filtered through the tall trees above us. But my attention was completely focused on the woman standing in front of me. Claire Whitmore. My boss. The CEO of the company where I worked. And somehow, she had come to a park on a Sunday looking for me. I cleared my throat. Looking for me, why? Claire didn't answer immediately. Instead, she glanced toward the playground where Lily was climbing up the ladder to the slide. For a moment, her expression softened. Then she turned back to me. First of all, I owe you an apology. I blinked in confusion. For what? She gave a small, slightly embarrassed smile. For sitting on your lap. I felt my face warm again. Yeah, that was definitely unexpected. Claire laughed quietly. I was trying to break the awkwardness. Clearly, it didn't work. A couple walking by the bench glanced at us again before continuing down the path. I shifted slightly, still feeling awkward about the whole moment. I just didn't expect to run into my boss at a park, I said. That's fair, she replied. Then she crossed her arms lightly and looked at me with curiosity. You come here often? Most Sundays, I said. Lily loves the swings. Right on cue, Lily slid down the slide and ran across the grass, her laughter echoing across the park. Claire watched her carefully. There was something different about the way she looked at Lily. It wasn't just casual interest. It was emotional. You're doing a good job, she suddenly said. I looked at her, confused. With what? With her. She nodded toward Lily. Being a dad. For a second, I didn't know how to respond. People rarely said things like that to me. Most days I felt like I was just barely keeping everything together. Well, I'm trying, I said quietly. Claire studied my face as if she were trying to understand something deeper. You bring her to work sometimes, she said. When the daycare closes early. I nodded. Yeah. I try not to make it a problem. It isn't, Claire said immediately. Her voice was firm. In fact, it's the opposite. That surprised me. What do you mean? Claire leaned back against the bench and watched Lily chasing a butterfly across the grass. You know something interesting about the office? What? Most people complain all the time, she said. About deadlines. About meetings. About how hard their lives are. I couldn't argue with that. Yeah, that sounds about right. But you never do, Claire continued. You show up early. You work hard. And when you leave the office, you're always rushing home to your daughter. I felt a little uncomfortable hearing my boss analyze my life like that. Well, she's my responsibility. Claire slowly shook her head. No. Her voice softened. She's your priority. For a moment, neither of us spoke. A warm breeze moved through the park, rustling the leaves above us. Then Lily suddenly ran toward us again. Daddy, look what I found. She held up a small yellow flower. Wow, I said. That's a nice one. Lily turned to Claire. Do you want it? Claire looked genuinely surprised. For me. Lily nodded seriously. You look sad. Claire froze for a moment. Then she slowly accepted the flower. Thank you, she said softly. Lily smiled proudly and ran back toward the playground. Claire stared at the flower in her hand. For a moment, she looked like she was somewhere else entirely. Kids notice things, I said quietly. Claire nodded. Yes, they do. She took a slow breath. Then she looked at me again. Daniel, can I ask you something personal? I hesitated for a moment. Sure. How long have you been raising Lily alone? I looked out at the playground. 3 years. Claire's expression grew more serious. And her mother? She left, I said simply. Claire didn't interrupt. She decided the family life wasn't for her, I continued. Packed her bags and moved to another city. I shrugged slightly. At first I thought she might come back. But she didn't, Claire said quietly. I shook my head. No. Claire looked down at the flower Lily had given her. For the first time since I'd known her, the confident CEO looked vulnerable. I understand that feeling, she said softly. I turned to her. What feeling? Losing your family. Her voice had changed. There was a heaviness in it now. When I was 16, Claire continued, my parents and my little sister were in a car accident. My chest tightened slightly. They didn't survive. For a moment, the noise of the park faded again. I'm sorry, I said quietly. Claire nodded once. I spent years trying to fill that empty space with work, she said. College. Business school. Starting the company. And you succeeded, I said. Yes, she replied. But success doesn't replace family. Her eyes slowly moved toward Lily again. She reminds me of someone, Claire whispered. Your sister? I asked gently. Claire nodded. She was about Lily's age when the accident happened. I watched Lily run across the playground, her laughter carrying through the air. She looks a lot like her, Claire said softly. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then Claire finally turned back to me. Daniel, that's actually part of the reason I came here today. My heart started beating a little faster again. You mean you really were looking for me? Yes. But, how did you know I'd be here? Claire gave a small smile. You mentioned this park once in a meeting. I blinked. You remembered that? I remember a lot of things, she said. Then her expression became serious again. Especially when they matter. I wasn't sure what that meant. Daniel, Claire said slowly, there's something important I want to talk to you about. The tone of her voice made my stomach tighten slightly. Okay. She looked at Lily one more time. Then back at me. This isn't just about work. Now I was really confused. Then what is it about? Claire took a deep breath. And the words she said next were something I never expected to hear from my boss. Daniel. I think meeting you and Lily might not have been an accident. I stared at her. What do you mean? Claire's eyes held a mixture of emotion and determination. I think it might be the start of something much bigger. At that moment, I had absolutely no idea what she meant. But deep down, I had a strange feeling that this unexpected meeting in a quiet park was about to change all of our lives. Claire's words stayed in my mind long after she said them. I think meeting you and Lily might not have been an accident. The afternoon sun was beginning to soften, casting long golden shadows across the park. Children were still playing, parents were chatting on benches, and everything around us seemed calm. But inside my head, nothing felt calm. I looked at Claire carefully. What exactly do you mean by that? I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she watched Lily run across the grass toward the swings again. My daughter's laughter filled the air as she climbed onto the swing and began pumping her legs forward. Claire's eyes followed her every movement. There was something deeper in her expression now. Something emotional. Finally, she turned back to me. Daniel, she said quietly, have you ever had one of those moments where life suddenly feels strangely connected? I frowned slightly. Connected how? Like certain people appear in your life for a reason, she explained. Even when you don't understand why yet. I leaned back slightly on the bench. I'm not really the philosophical type, I said with a small smile. Claire smiled faintly too. Neither was I, until recently. She looked down at the small yellow flower Lily had given her earlier. She gently turned it between her fingers. My sister's name was Emma, Claire said softly. I remembered her mentioning the accident earlier. She loved parks, Claire continued. Especially swings. My eyes moved toward Lily, who was now swinging as high as she possibly could, laughing loudly. Claire watched her carefully. Emma used to laugh exactly like that, she said. There was a slight tremble in her voice. 4 years after the accident, I avoided places like this, she admitted. Parks? Yes. Too many memories. Claire nodded slowly. But a few months ago, I started walking here again. That surprised me. Why? She hesitated. Because I saw you and Lily here once. My eyebrows lifted. You did? Yes. She looked a little embarrassed now. It was about 3 months ago. I was driving past the park after a meeting. I saw you pushing Lily on the swing. I tried to remember that day. You probably didn't notice me, she said. No. I didn't. Claire gave a small smile. But Lily's laugh, it reminded me so much of Emma that I actually stopped the car. For a moment I didn't know what to say. Claire looked out across the park again. I sat in my car for almost 10 minutes just watching the two of you, she admitted. That sounds a little creepy when I say it out loud. I chuckled slightly. Maybe a little. But it also made me realize something, she continued. What? That life doesn't stop just because something terrible happens. The wind moved gently through the trees above us. Claire's voice became quieter. 4 years, I thought success would fill the empty space my family left behind. You built an entire company, I said. Yes, she replied. But success doesn't laugh. It doesn't hug you. It doesn't run across a park chasing butterflies. Her eyes followed Lily again. That day I saw the two of you, it reminded me of something I had forgotten. What was that? I asked. How important simple moments are. For a while we both just sat there watching Lily play. Then Claire turned toward me again. So when I saw you here today, I decided to come talk to you. And sit on my lap. I said jokingly. She laughed again. Okay, that part might have been a bad decision. We both smiled for a moment. But then Claire's expression became serious again. Daniel, can I ask you another question? Sure. Do you ever feel exhausted? I blinked. Of course. I mean truly exhausted, she said. Not just from work. From life. I thought about that for a moment. Being a single dad meant constant responsibility. Late-night homework help. Early morning breakfasts. Working overtime just to cover bills. Some days I felt like I was running a marathon without a finish line. Yeah, I admitted quietly. Sometimes. Claire nodded slowly. I can see it in your eyes. I laughed softly. That obvious, huh? Only to someone who's been there. You mean you? Yes. Claire leaned back against the bench. Running a company is exhausting, she said. But loneliness is even more exhausting. Her honesty surprised me. Most people in the office saw Claire as an unstoppable business leader. They never saw this side of her. Then suddenly Lily ran back toward us again. Daddy. She stopped in front of us, breathing heavily from running. Can we get ice cream later? I smiled. Maybe. She turned to Claire. Do you like ice cream? Claire smiled warmly. Of course. What's your favorite flavor? Lily asked. Claire thought for a moment. Strawberry. Lily gasped dramatically. That's my favorite too. Claire laughed. Well then we clearly have excellent taste. Lily looked very pleased with that answer. Then she ran off again toward the climbing structure. Claire watched her go. You know, she said quietly, she's a very special kid. Yeah, I said softly. She is. Claire turned toward me again. Daniel, there's another reason I wanted to talk to you. I could tell from her tone that the conversation was about to shift again. Okay. This time, it is about work. I raised an eyebrow. Work? Here? Yes. Claire crossed her arms thoughtfully. I've been reviewing employee performance reports recently. That sounds terrifying. It should be, she joked. Then she looked directly at me. And your name kept appearing at the top. I frowned slightly. In a good way or a bad way? In a very good way. I felt slightly confused. I'm just doing my job. You're doing much more than that, Claire said. You consistently outperform your team targets. You help your co-workers. And somehow you manage to do all of that while raising a child alone. She paused. That's not something I ignore. I shifted slightly on the bench. So, why are you telling me this in a park? Claire smiled mysteriously. Because what I'm about to tell you next is going to surprise you. My curiosity immediately grew. Surprise me how? Claire leaned slightly closer. Daniel, have you ever thought about changing your role at the company? I blinked. What do you mean? Claire's eyes held a serious intensity now. I mean stepping into something much bigger. I stared at her. Bigger how? She smiled slightly. You'll find out very soon. At that moment, I had no idea what she meant. But something told me that this conversation was only the beginning, and the truth Claire was about to reveal would shock far more than just me. Claire's last words kept echoing in my head. Daniel, have you ever thought about stepping into something much bigger? The question felt heavy. Too heavy for a casual Sunday conversation in a park. I looked at her carefully, trying to understand if she was serious or if this was some kind of strange motivational speech. What exactly do you mean by bigger? I asked. Claire folded her hands together and leaned forward slightly, resting her elbows on her knees. Her eyes were focused, the same sharp and thoughtful look she always had during important meetings at the office. I've been reviewing the structure of our marketing division, she said. Okay. And I've realized something. What's that? We're missing the right leader. I frowned slightly. A leader? Yes. Claire looked directly at me. Someone who understands responsibility. Someone who works hard without excuses. Someone who knows what it means to fight for something important. I felt my stomach tighten a little. You're not talking about me, are you? Claire didn't hesitate. Yes. I am. For a moment, I just stared at her. The idea sounded ridiculous. Claire. I'm just a senior analyst, I said. And a very good one, she replied calmly. But managing an entire department? That's a completely different level. Claire tilted her head slightly. Do you know something interesting about leadership, Daniel? What? It's not about titles. I crossed my arms. Then what is it about? It's about character. The wind moved through the trees above us as she continued speaking. I've watched people in that office for years, Claire said. Many of them are talented. Some are even brilliant. She paused. But talent isn't the same as reliability. I understood what she meant. In the business world, people love to talk about ambition, she continued. But ambition without integrity is dangerous. Her eyes moved briefly toward the playground again where Lily was climbing up the slide. But someone who works hard for their child, she said softly. That kind of person doesn't give up easily. I rubbed the back of my neck. This feels like a very unusual job interview. Claire smiled slightly. That's because it isn't one. Then what is it? It's an opportunity. I stayed quiet for a moment. My mind was racing. Running a department. That meant more responsibility, longer hours, and more pressure. But it also meant a bigger salary. A better future for Lily. Still, Something about this felt strange. Why me? I asked finally. Claire looked at me with surprising honesty. Because you remind me of the kind of person I wish had been there for my family. That answer caught me off guard. What do you mean? When my parents died, she said quietly, everything in my life fell apart. I had to learn how to survive on my own. Her voice stayed calm, but I could hear the emotion beneath it. I promised myself that if I ever built something successful, I would surround myself with people who actually deserved opportunity. She looked directly into my eyes again. You're one of those people. I didn't know how to respond to that. Before I could say anything, Lily suddenly ran back toward us again. Daddy. She stopped in front of us, slightly out of breath. I'm hungry. I laughed. You're always hungry. She looked at Claire. Are you hungry too? Claire smiled warmly. I could definitely eat something. Lily grinned. Then we should all get ice cream. I raised an eyebrow. That's your solution to everything. Yes, Lily said proudly. Claire laughed. I like her strategy. For a moment, the conversation shifted into something lighter. But the offer Claire had made was still sitting heavily in my mind. Lily ran back toward the playground again after a moment. Claire turned back to me. You don't have to answer today, she said. That's good, because I'm still trying to understand if this is real. It's very real. Why tell me here though? I asked. Why not wait until Monday at the office? Claire looked around the park. Because here, you're not just an employee. What am I? You're a father. Her answer was simple but powerful. And that tells me more about you than any performance report ever could. I thought about that for a moment. So what exactly would this new role be? I asked. Claire smiled slightly. Head of Marketing Operations. I nearly choked. That's not a small promotion. No, she said calmly. It isn't. That's basically running the entire department. Yes. I leaned back against the bench. That's a lot. Claire nodded. It is. And you really think I can do it? I don't think, she said. I know. Her confidence was almost unsettling. Most people spent years trying to convince their bosses they deserved promotions. And here my boss was offering one in the middle of a park. But there was still something else I couldn't ignore. If I take this role, I said slowly, it means longer hours. Claire nodded. Sometimes. I can't sacrifice time with Lily. I wouldn't expect you to. I looked at her carefully. You say that now. I mean it. How? Claire smiled slightly. Because I built this company. And I decide how it runs. For the first time since the conversation started, I felt something shift. Are you saying? Yes, she said. If you take this position, you'll have flexibility. Flexible hours? Yes. That doesn't exist in corporate jobs. It does when the CEO says it does. I stared at her. You're serious? Completely. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The late afternoon sunlight painted the park in warm golden colors. Children's laughter echoed through the air. Finally, Claire stood up from the bench. I should probably get going, she said. Meetings tomorrow. I nodded. Same here. She took a few steps away before turning back toward me. Think about the offer, she said. I will. Then she glanced toward the playground one last time. Lily is lucky to have you. I smiled slightly. I think I'm the lucky one. Claire nodded thoughtfully. Then she began walking down the park path. But just before she disappeared around the corner, she turned back once more and said something that made my curiosity spike again. Daniel, there's one more thing. What? She smiled mysteriously. Tomorrow morning's company meeting. Yes. You might want to arrive early. Why? Claire's smile widened slightly. Because what I'm about to announce is going to surprise everyone. Then she turned and walked away. I sat there on the bench, watching her disappear down the path. My mind was spinning. A promotion. A new role. A mysterious announcement. And somehow all of it had started with a strange moment, on a park bench. But something told me that the biggest surprise was still coming. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. To be honest, I barely slept at all. Claire's words from the park kept replaying in my mind. Think about the offer. You might want to arrive early tomorrow. And the one that confused me the most. What I'm about to announce is going to surprise everyone. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee while Lily ate her cereal across from me. Daddy, she said between bites, why do you look tired? I smiled a little. Because adults think too much. She nodded seriously, as if that explanation made perfect sense. Are you going to work today? Yeah. Okay, she said. Don't forget we still need ice cream later. I laughed softly. I won't forget. After dropping Lily off at school, I drove to the office. The entire time, my mind was racing. Was Claire really serious about the promotion? Or had I misunderstood something? When I finally walked into the office building, something immediately felt different. Groups of employees were standing near the lobby, whispering to each other. Some looked confused. Some looked curious. What's going on? I asked one of my co-workers, Mark. You didn't hear, he said. Hear what? There's a big company meeting this morning. That's not unusual. Yeah, Mark said, lowering his voice. But this one is different. How? Apparently the CEO is making a major announcement. My stomach tightened slightly. So it was really happening. A few minutes later, everyone gathered in the large conference hall. There were easily more than 100 employees filling the seats. The room buzzed with quiet conversations. Then suddenly, the doors at the front opened. And Claire Whitmore walked in. Just like always, the room instantly became quiet. Today she was back in her professional look. A sharp navy blue suit. Confident posture. The same powerful presence that made people sit up straighter. But now that I knew the conversation we had shared in the park, she seemed different to me. More human. Claire stepped up to the podium. Good morning, everyone, she said. Her voice was calm but commanding. I know you're probably wondering why I called this meeting. A few people chuckled nervously. Claire smiled slightly. I promise it won't take too long. She paused for a moment, looking across the room. Then she continued. Our company has grown a lot over the past few years. Everyone nodded. We've expanded our clients, increased our revenue, and built an incredible team. More nodding. But growth also means change. Now the room was completely silent. Claire clasped her hands together. And that's what today's announcement is about. I felt my heartbeat start to increase. Claire continued speaking. For the past several months, I've been reviewing the structure of our marketing division. She paused briefly. And I realized something important. People leaned forward in their seats. Our team needs stronger leadership. A few quiet whispers moved through the room. Claire raised a hand slightly. So after a lot of consideration, I've decided to appoint a new head of marketing operations. The whispers immediately grew louder. That position was one of the most powerful roles in the company. Claire waited patiently until the room quieted again. Then she said the words that made my entire body freeze. And the person I've chosen for that position is Daniel Carter. For a moment, the room was completely silent. Then dozens of heads turned in my direction. My co-workers stared at me with shocked expressions. Mark's mouth was literally hanging open. Wait, what? He whispered. I stood there, completely stunned. Claire looked directly at me and gave a small encouraging nod. Daniel, she said, would you please come up here? My legs felt strangely heavy as I walked toward the front of the room. Every step felt unreal. When I finally reached the podium beside her, Claire continued speaking. Daniel has been with this company for several years, she said. During that time, he has consistently demonstrated dedication, reliability, and integrity. I could feel the eyes of the entire room on me. But what impressed me the most, Claire continued, is something many of you may not know. She looked out across the employees. Daniel is also a single father. A few people exchanged surprised glances. Claire's voice softened slightly. He works long hours. He takes care of his daughter. And somehow he still manages to support his team and deliver excellent results. I felt slightly embarrassed hearing all of this. But Claire wasn't finished. Leadership isn't about ego, she said. It's about responsibility. She turned toward me. And Daniel understands responsibility better than most people. Then she did something unexpected. She stepped slightly closer to me and spoke more quietly, though the microphone still carried her voice through the room. Yesterday, I met Daniel and his daughter at a park. The room reacted immediately. A park? Someone whispered. Claire smiled slightly. Yes. And watching the way he treated his daughter reminded me of something very important. What's that? Someone called from the back. Claire looked around the room. That the best leaders are the ones who care about people. The room grew quiet again. Then Claire turned to me. Daniel, she said, I know this promotion will bring new challenges. I nodded slowly. But I also know you're capable of handling them. She extended her hand. Welcome to your new role. I shook her hand. The room was silent for 1 second. Then suddenly, applause erupted across the conference hall. People clapped. Some smiled. Others still looked surprised. Mark was clapping the loudest. As the applause continued, Claire leaned slightly closer to me and whispered something quietly. See? I told you it would surprise everyone. I couldn't help but laugh. Later that evening, after the long day finally ended, I picked Lily up from school. She jumped into the car excitedly. Daddy, did you have a good day? I smiled. You could say that. Did you get ice cream yet? I laughed. Not yet. Well, then we need to fix that, she said seriously. So we went to the small ice cream shop near the park. Lily ordered strawberry. And as she sat there happily eating her ice cream, I realized something important. Life had changed again. But this time, it felt like things were finally moving in the right direction. And it had all started with one unexpected moment. When my boss sat on my lap in the middle of a park.